Well, this has been a great woodshed. We built it, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago because the wood was piling up in the garage and we were acquiring more firewood, and so I wanted to have a place outside to store it all. At the time we built it, there was a tree on this side, there was a tree on the other side, and then the fence was there, but it was closer by a foot and a half or so. And so now, without the tree on either side and without the fence behind it, the woodshed just looks really small. Also, we just got an insert in our fireplace, and so we're planning to do a lot more firewood burning. We have all the firewood left over from the trees that we took down, plus the old wood, and so it's just time for a much bigger woodshed. So first step is to remove all the stuff from the inside. Step one is all done. I've got the shed all empty, I've got it all swept, I've got the wood piled up over here. Went pretty smoothly, except for a couple accidents. Dropped some wood on my shins and got them all scraped up, but the shed's in good shape, and so the next step when I have time is to start disassembling pieces in the boards, taking it all back down. Alright, the shed is now completely dismantled. It looks like there's just a rotting corpse of a shed left over here. But now I'm starting to get excited because now you can see there's tons of room around the shed, right? Remember, there was a tree on this side, there was a tree on that side, the fence was in a different position. Now I can make the second shed much bigger. Instead of 4 feet deep, it's going to be 6 feet deep. Instead of being about 15 feet long, it's going to end up being about 22 feet long. So it should end up being, by footprint, about 2.5 times as big as the current shed. So now I just got to sit down and actually do my measurements and decide on my official plan and head back to the store and buy some more materials. So you'll remember that the last thing I said was that I needed to drop the plans and go back to the store. Well, I had forgotten that I need to deal with the ground. Where the shed is going to extend over here, there used to be a tree, which means there used to be a root ball, and when they ground out the root ball, they left kind of a crater here in the ground that I need to fill in with some stable soil. And then behind the tree, the ground had kind of built up, and so I need to level that back down. I also need to deal with the back side of the shed where those extra 2 feet are going to go. So instead of drawing up plans and going to the store, I get to do lots of digging and leveling. Yay. Okay, well, that wasn't very fun. That was about a day and a half of digging in the ground, getting all 12 of these cinder blocks level with each other, level by themselves, getting them square with each other. I had to build a template to get the squareness correct. I had to get them parallel with the house and parallel with the fence. Of course, multiple times, because there was 2 trees that were here in this place. I had to dig out some roots, so I got to get out the axe and the chainsaw for that. Of course, I even found a cement ball from old fence posts that I had to hammer out of there with the sledgehammer. So I felt like just to get these 12 blocks level, I used all the tools that I had around here. At least that's what it felt like. But now we've got all 12 level, and now we can start flying and building the frame for the floor. Alright, I've got the uprights all done and got them all reinforced. So in the middle ones I've got the diagonal bracing there, and then on the outsides I've got kind of a rail going around, and that's 4 feet up from the lowest part of the ground, so that when I put the lattice back there I'll have something to fasten the top edge of the lattice to. And everything is really secure. On the top I've got, the 2x4s in the back going up a little bit higher than the front piece, so that that header has something to rest on. So it's fastened from behind and supported on the bottom. I have that on all of them, and I thought I'd show you down here too. I've got the 2x4s bolted in nice and secure, and then those braces bolted in nice and secure. So any of those really structural joints, I've got bolts in there instead of just the sheetrock screws. And overall, very pleased with how things are going. And now it is time to get looking at those headers. right, I am excited because I've got the trusses up. I was very nervous because I've never made trusses before, and the front is a lot taller than the back is, so I had to make them asymmetrical. But I mocked it up in Fusion 360 first, just to make sure all the geometry was going to work out right. And it's always exciting and a relief when the geometry on the computer actually fits in the real world, so to see it up there is awesome. The next step is just to get the sheathing up, and then the flashing and paper and the shingles. And then I'll just get into painting and the flooring, and then I can start loading the wood into the shed. Okay, I've got the weed barrier all laid out and it's looking really good. The next step is to put in the decking. I've already got this first piece laid out. I realized though, after stacking all of the planks, that I didn't do the best job spray painting them all. In some cases the plastic blew up and kind of shaded off part of the plank. In other cases I just didn't do a very thorough job. I was running low on paint and kind of in a hurry. So what I'm going to do is kind of pick the boards that look like they're painted good enough and put those in now, and then later today when it's a lot cooler, I'll bring out the paint and I'll do the touch up as I install. The good news though is that I was trying to decide how much space there should be in between these planks, and then I realized I have a whole bunch of these 3/8 inch cutoffs from the 2x6s, and those are going to be good spacers, so I'm just going to use those as kind of an arbitrary but universal or consistent gap there. And so I'm just going to check the ends here. I'm going to be a little anal here, and I'm going to pre-drill everything just to make sure nothing splits, especially on the end. And then I'm going to use screws instead of nails, just because down the road I might need to get back underneath here. Some animal dies or something, or for some reason I need to fix the weed barrier or something like that, then it'll be a lot easier to pull these up. So I'm just going to kind of stagger, kind of go back and forth to try to keep the boards flat and get these fastened down. So I got the weed barrier down on the ground underneath and got that kind of tacked down with these little staples, and then I've got all the decking in, and then I went around and did a bunch of touch-up paint. So everything is done except for the lattice. The lattice should go pretty smoothly, except for the fact that I didn't know what I was doing when I did the spray painting. So I left the lattice down flat on the plastic, and some of the paint puddled up around the lattice, and it's now stuck, and so I'm gonna have to spend some time peeling off those little extra flaps of paint, and then probably doing some touch-up where some of the plastic blew over the lattice and didn't paint very well. So, but once I get the lattice in, then the shed will be done, and I just got to spend some time loading it with the wood. All right, the shed itself is totally done, which I'm super excited about. The next step is just to get all of this wood that in there and untarp this and split it and get it loaded in there. And then it will be fully done. We just spent a bunch of weeks loading up the woodshed. We had a few trips sprinkled in there, which kind of slowed things down. But we got the shed all loaded up. There's 3 bays that are basically full. Got some cleanup I need to do around the yard, around the air grounds of bark and just random pieces I gotta clean up. Ended up renting a wood splitter because the wood was just twisted and gnarled and nasty. That wood splitter saved a lot of time and a lot of effort. It was really fun to use. Loud and stinky, but sure splits the wood up real fast. And you can see that the bays are all nice and organized. The third bay ends up kind of bulging out a little bit, and the 4th row that we put into the third bay was kind of leaning. Actually, they were all kind of leaning, and by the time we got to the 4th row, it was just leaning out in the front. So if that ends up being a problem, if it ends up getting too wet, then I can cover over it. But we're going to do a bunch of burning this winter. We've got a new wood burning insert that we just got this last spring that we haven't used very much, so we should burn up quite a bit of wood this winter, and then we can kind of reorganize things as need be. But as far as I'm concerned, the woodshed is done. I'm excited.